Welcome back to Phae's Place, a podcast where dreamers have the liberty to dream. I'm your host, Phaedra, and I am so excited that we have this time to dream together. 52 weeks ago, I posed the question, are black women allowed to dream? Now, this was very important to me because I'm black, I'm a woman, and I dream big dreams. Society doesn't really seem to embrace women who are ambitious or courageous about pursuing their dreams. And no one really says, don't do it. But it's insinuated behind the passive-aggressive remarks or the strategic unnecessary obstacles that are placed in the way. In this episode, we discover that dreaming is an act of resistance. Yes, as an adult, to say that I still have dreams and desires and goals and I'm going to go after that, that takes audacity. And when you tell people your dreams, especially when you reach a certain age, they look at you kind of funny because it's like, are you really going to do that? And for you to tell them, yes, I am, that is an act of resistance. My first guest was the incomparable Wendy Moten. And she reminded us that when your dreams seem to be losing steam, you have the power to dream more dreams. So, hey, look, I'm a poet. Didn't even know it. So people who are dealing with their broken dreams, what kind of advice would you give them?
Make them all new.
So is that getting new dreams? Is that
Yeah, no,
framing
always have new dreams. If that dream ain't working, create a new dream.
I love that.
It's the only way. It's the only thing.
Perspective.
Yeah, because that dream didn't work, or that dream it ain't your dream. That's something you want. That ain't something that's for you. If it was for you, you'll have it. Period. So you gotta have a new dream. You can't just stop with one dream. Even the people who have a great idea, there's still other components that go along with the idea, which keeps evolving.
Then we move into the friendship phase. Dreaming requires a village, and who you surround yourself with matters. That's why I had my girl Jodi on the show, and she reminded us that pursuing dreams is putting your faith into action.
When you're doing something that God has put on the inside of you, like, you have to conjure up faith in that vision every single day. Despite the obstacles, despite what people are saying, despite what that bank account is saying, huh?
Come on, bank account.
That
was a liar.
Despite that, you have to be like, Lord, I trust you. And Lord, I believe this vision that you gave me. And I'm going to work the vision until it works for itself. And so, yeah, that blessed me just there.
Knowledge is power. And that's why I had my friend David Bean come to talk to us about the music business. He lets us know exactly why PROs are important.
Right now, currently, I work at a PRO, which is a performance rights organization. Essentially, a PRO is the organization that will go out and talk to different companies like movie studios, radios, even like people who put music in like movies on airplanes, and we collect money for artists and writers, basically on their behalf, and make sure that they are getting paid for their work. So, for example, say if you write a song, say you connected with somebody who is writing a movie, and they want to use your song in the movie, there is like a set rate that goes with that. And there's negotiations and that whole process, but it would be on the PRO's behalf to go and talk to those people and say, hey, you owe this person this amount for this, however long you use this music in your film. This is how long it's going to be airing, and we collect all that data, then pay out for our writers and artists on it.
Your job is pretty important, okay?
It is one of the things people don't really think about, how it all happens, like the behind the scenes of it. Everybody wants to do, when you think of music industry, you think of, the label side, or like the performance and like going out and doing shows. And that is a part of it, that we do deal with that and help pay people for it. But there's a lot more behind the scenes stuff and things that you don't really think about.
One of my highlights was talking to the incredible Mrs. Angie Winans Cardwell. She helped us celebrate Gospel Music Heritage Month. In this episode, I learned about the importance of being specific when you ask God to help you with the dreams He placed within you.
In my calling, I learned to be true to who I am and what I like. So I like bands, instruments, and maybe that started when my father bought me those Congos. And then I slowly went on to the piano. So I fell in love with instrumental music, jazz fusion. And Lord, give me melodies that's pleasing to your ear.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always, when I would write a song, I was quicker to hear a melody first. Then I'll try to put the words in. But prayer, the real prayer, Lord, give me melodies that are pleasing to your ear.
Then we moved into the legal phase with my great attorney friend Kobe A. Powell. He reminded us that you can achieve your childhood dreams with a lot of hard work and dedication.
From what I hear from my parents and my sisters, my older sisters, they always said I wanted to be a lawyer. Honestly, I don't know why I wanted to be a lawyer back then. I can't remember why, but it's something that I said since I was young, that I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know if it was from watching on TV or anything like that, but it's just something that I always wanted to be. I wanted to be other things too. I wanted to be an NFL quarterback. I wanted to. I wanted to play baseball at one point. I wanted to be a WWE wrestler. a lot, a lot of things young Kobe wanted to be, but the lawyer stuck its way through. It's something that I continue to go after. After high school, I went to the Urban Assembly for Law and Justice, downtown Brooklyn. In college, I didn't want to be a criminal defense attorney. After reading The New Jim Crow, when I realized that the system is on plea bargaining and, people going to prison and jail, I was like, I want to do something, different than that. What could I do, like, to change the law? So one of the things that I found was Section 1983. That's how I ended up where I'm at today.
And then I invited another mentor of mine, Anne McCrary. She always talks about how the job of an actor and a singer goes hand in hand. The goal is to tell the story.
Most singers should able to act. That's what I think.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Uh-huh. Most singers should be able to act because being able to tell the story of what you're singing is really acting. You have to tell. And for me, I want people to know the story. I want them to understand what I'm saying and what I'm singing about. I want it because if not, it's a waste of time.
Right.
And that's what I feel that some people do with their singing. It's not that they don't have a nice sounding voice, a beautiful voice, a good voice. It's that they don't know how to tell the story.
We always hear about networking up, but what about networking across? I had Professor Kelly K. Greer on the show, and she opened up a new perspective to me. She lets us know just why networking across is just as effective as networking up.
I was always of the mindset of if I'm going to make it big, it's going to be with the people that I work the best with. Because who's to say that if I become best friends with Will Smith tomorrow, that we're going to have a great working relationship? Me and Will might just like to kick it. We might just like to hang out and go see a movie or whatever. We might like to hike, right? But who's to say that we're going to have a good, like, oh, I can work with Will and have that relationship. So the people that I've been working with are people that I know I can always work with.
Before you sign, there are important things that every artist needs to know. That's why we had Chelsea Mendez stop by Phae's place, and she gave us great tips on the art of negotiation.
A lot of the artists that I've spoken to, it's like they come to me largely because they want me to either like help them with an opportunity, that has come across their desk, or they're like, Chelsea, I don't know how much I should ask for. And they're like, and I don't want to handle it like you just handle it. I'm like, okay. One of them, which I won't say his name, he comes to me and he was like, Chelsea, like there was this record company that came to me and, they want me to do like work with their artists. We can do a duet. I said, okay, that's amazing. And he was like, but they asked me how much I should ask. They asked me how much I want. And I said, okay. And how, like, did you say anything? He was like, no. I said, okay, well, that's good. Cause you never give an answer straight there. You always ask for time. And he was like, yeah, no, I didn't say anything. And I said, okay, how much is your rent? And he was like, oh, it's about like 3,500. I said, what do you want to ask for? He's like 500. I said, and so what you see the discrepancy there. Like, you see, you have to provide for yourself first. You have to know what your daily expenses are, what your weekly, monthly, yearly expenses are, so you can know what to ask for. 500, 3,500?
Girl,
No.
you are helping the people. You are.
I said, what? No. No. And again, it's like, we could very well, and we asked for that. We asked for 3,500, and then we can work down from there. But to start, if you were to straight start at 500, they're going to take you down to 200,
Right.
And that's what my mom always taught me. It's like, you want to shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, yes. Land on the
yes.
star. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you don't want to shoot for a star and land in the grass.
My good friend Kayla Young shared with us some important insights of what really goes on behind the camera on television.
The majority of film and television work, all the way up to the greats, is gig work. It's this project, then it's that one, then it's this one, then it's that one. Especially as time goes on, television shows that used to last 10 and 15 and 20 seasons, that's never gonna happen again because the entire entertainment and media landscape has drastically changed. So where you could kind of get on a show when you were 23 at one level and go and be on it till you were 45 and put your kids through college working on the same TV show, you know what I mean? You can't do that anymore. And most people, especially of course actors, again, you'll know this, like they live their life bouncing from one thing to one thing.
My dad, Reverend Philip McDowell, reminded us that the gifts God has given to us are not only limited to only one place.
The Holy Spirit gives a lot of gifts to different people. And some of those gifts, a lot of those gifts can be used directly in the church. But a lot of them can be used outside the four walls of the church and can be used to bring glory to God.
As a creative, we've all been there. How much do we charge? That's why I invited my childhood friend C.D. Amico, who is a social media manager, to let us know how we can tackle this issue.
That's something that I still work through and question, and I think it's really easy to get sucked back into like the imposter syndrome of knowing your worth and being okay with charging for your services, and also knowing that you provide value in a way that is the same as someone buying a sandwich because they would pay for that. We're building something that is more abstract, a film or a Instagram post. In reality, more and more the creator economy is just getting more streamlined and there are more resources out there, but honestly, I always tell other people who do the same job as me to ask me what my rates are. I ask them, and it's really just about talking with your peers and not making it a taboo subject. Not to be competitive. What are you charging? What are you charging? But just like sharing information, because I think we all like move forward together.
And then we had our first Grammy Award winner on Phae's Place. I was so excited to have Victor Cardwell on this show. He produced the soundtrack of my childhood, and he changed the trajectory of how we listen to gospel music.
The thing is, we were not trying to necessarily change anything. We were just trying to be authentically ourselves, or being what God has put in us through. From my dad's music, my dad was a big band kind of guy. He used to listen to Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington. You can incorporate that with the R&B that was going on in the 70s and 80s, gospel way it was with James Cleveland, Walter Hawkins, Andre Crouch, Billy Preston. And then to the jazz stuff, said I was listening to George Benson's David, Sanborn, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock. We were listening to all of that. Jeff Lowe Fusion. So you put all that into one. So, okay, now how do we put all of that in the music so that people don't have the notion of saying, well, I don't like it because it ain't R&B. I don't like it because it's not true jazz as opposed to watered down jazz. We were just putting all the elements of what we knew into it all. So hopefully it would attract everybody. Because once you attract everybody, then maybe you get tired of listening to the music. Eventually, you start listening to the word.
That's right.
Because the word don't save you. The music ain't saving nobody. We're just trying to make sure we could attract all the attention. So the best way to do it, that's what attracted us to all these different kinds of music. And how do we put it all together? So let's put that all together in an artist.
My college roommate and Leo's sister, Madison Anglin, introduced me to the world of fellowships and special programs that give opportunities for people to pursue their dreams. She shares what she learns by participating in these events and how it helps her as a film composer.
The first year I moved to Los Angeles, I was able to do the Los Angeles Film Conducting Intensive, which was incredible. I got to write a piece of music and have it recorded live while I conducted the Hollywood Studio Symphony. So that's pretty incredible just to say that I even had the opportunity to do. And those definitely came because I had taken the time in the very beginning of just learning and going through all my classes to understand the process of writing for orchestra. You know, you do have to kind of like submit your work and show that you know how to write for all of these instruments and that you have an eye for certain things. I'm very grateful for all of those programs because I'm still young. I haven't necessarily scored like a studio film or project, but I'm grateful for these programs that I've been able to do because in a way, they're kind of like my own training wheels of being able to really put my skills to the test without actually having big deadlines to get in order. So definitely great ways of like midpoint ways of being able to just put my art to the test. And then my other favorite program that I've done is the VIF CFA program, which stands for the Vancouver International Film Festival Composer Filmmaker Accelerator Program. It's such a long title, but if any composers end up listening to this podcast, I definitely encourage them to apply to this program. We were able to work with a filmmaker and have a cue of their film scored by us, but also recorded and performed live, a part of the Vancouver National Film Festival.
When I think about dreaming big, I think about Brooke Bobby. Her outlook on pursuing dreams is so contagious. You can't help but pursue your own. On this episode, she shares with us how it all began.
What grade are you in when you're 5?
Kindergarten.
You know? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say around that time, I very vividly remember, I don't know if it was 5, but I had a first grade teacher who my parents introduced me to one-on-one because they were very nervous for me. Her name is Miss Wallace. She's my godmom now. But when I first met her, I think she was like one of my design angels in life because she saw me. She's really, really tall. I was so little. She saw me and she bent all the way down. We just really had a major connection from that moment. And I remember one day she told me, one day you are going to be a millionaire. She just told me that. And in that moment, I remember so vividly, it like unlocked the dreamer inside of me as a child. And I remember thinking, if I'm going to be a millionaire, I have to move to Hollywood and I have to become an actress. That was the first thing that like correlated in my mind that I would like, I guess, see on TV. I don't even really know. So I really went through my whole life with like this dream of acting, Hollywood, fame, fortune, wealth. I'm really grateful for her because I think dreaming is such an important thing, and it's really important to me, and it plays a big part in who I am as a person. So I would say the first thing that I ever dreamed about is being an actress.
I was so excited to have this Grammy Award winner on this show. Carbon Winans gave some of the best advice to aspiring artists. Take a listen.
Well, my dad and mom, they put everything in us, you know. They taught us to take this gift seriously. They saw a gift in all 10 of their children, right? And so they taught us, take your gift serious. You know, God gives you a gift, you don't just say, oh, I got a gift, and then don't work on it, right? If you have a gift to sing, to write, you work on it and polish it. And make it as best as you can. Then the anointing will do the rest, right? But you have to do your part. You take it, you know, take it real serious. I tell singers, take their gift real serious. Don't play with it. Rehearse. You know, do your vocal exercises, all that stuff, right? And when you do that, then God will do the rest.
In episode 17, one of my favorite directors, Stacey Holman, stopped by. Little did she know that her words of encouragement would fan into flame a dream that I didn't even think I could achieve. Yeah, I'll share this little dream that I have of a show that I would love to reboot, but I would like to change it. The Jeffersons.
Oh my gosh.
But instead of Mr. Jefferson, it will be the wife who has all the money, and the husband will have to be at home. And I think that would be hilarious. It would be so funny. And people, you know, she might get some bad names, but I would love to see that play out.
I love that. I would watch that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we put it out there. There we go.
Yes, we got to work on it now.
Start writing the pilot.
The common misconception is that opportunities come to you because you're good. The truth is, opportunities come to you because you're consistent. Elijah Bailey shared that his dream of becoming a professional basketball player only happened once he took the initiative.
I started like emailing professional coaches directly. I'm like, you know what? I have good stats. I have good highlights. I feel like I really thought like if I was to email or reach out to every single team in the world, one of them is going to get me. So every day I took it step by step. I'm going to email like 10 or 20 today. And the next day I'll do 10 teams, 10 teams. And it was funny. I got responses, but none of those emails were or reaching out was the reason I got overseas. I randomly got a call from my agent in January. It was already by playoffs in Armenia this time, where they said, "Hey, they found me or saw me, and they said, would you want to come out to Armenia? It's the playoffs, so it might be 3 or 4 games, but do you want to come out here?" I'm like, you know what, this is this is what I've been waiting for. So obviously, I took that risk, and yeah, now I was like, okay, now I was a professional basketball player. I played that game, and it was almost like NBA Finals. So we do like best of 7 or best of 6, and yeah, I played about 3 games, and then the last game we was facing elimination, and I was like, yo, this might be my last chance. Like, who knows if I even play after this? So I had 50 points. I went as hard as I can, and I just locked in tunnel vision. I had 50-point game, and we actually still lost.
No.
But it was funny. I was depressed, but like, you know what? I gave about all. That's how I feel like life. One of my gems, my dad always told me is like, if you do anything, if you give it your best,
That's
if you
right.
did a physics test, you studied your hardest and did your best on it, whatever the outcome is, you can live with because you put 110% in.
Yes.
After that game, I was like, oh, damn, this might be. You can never predict the future. Like, I don't know what's next. So I'm like, that was the playoff game. I had 50, but we lost, and I don't know what's next. And then like, I got a call from, I think it was my agent or the other team. Like, I played so well with that 50-point game that the team we just lost to, going to the finals, wanted to pick me up. I didn't even know that's how it works. So, it's not like high school. So basically, they like dropped somebody off their team and then picked me up on their team
Oh,
and like
wow.
paid me extra, moved me to a different apartment with a balcony, like in the middle of the city, and then I had like my new teammates and everything, and it was just funny because the people I was just playing against, they just picked me up now, and it was like, started me right away, and I had a good experience over there.
Ebony Funderburk, who is one of the top gospel radio promoters, shared an important lesson when it comes to moving on from a job.
My aunt gave me some really great advice because I didn't know how to handle being fired, right? It was like I said, my first time being fired, my only time being fired. I pride myself on being a very hard worker, workaholic is not great to say. But she gave me some great advice. She was like, always leave a place on good terms. And so I thanked Dr. Teresa Hairston for, hiring me and allowing me to work at her magazine, which I wish we had outlets like that still today. And I will say, like 3 months later, she invited me to rejoin Gospel Today magazine. But by that time, I was like, I'm good. It was too much work and it was very stressful. But I learned a lesson about leaving jobs well, leaving on good terms, because you never know. People don't stay in positions, they move up, they move out, they go to someplace else, and you're thought about, and you're considered and say, hey, that Ebony Funderburk might be a good person for this job over here that we're looking for. And ironically, that after I was working at Verity, that's how I got to EMI Gospel. Someone I worked with at Verity went to EMI Gospel, Larry Blackwell as vice president, and they needed someone to run their radio promotions department, and he thought about me and another person, but eventually I was the one that was hired. So, there's always leave a job well. The same people you see on your way up are the same people you could potentially see on your way down. So make sure you treat everybody well.
Then we get into the model phase with Leanna Diane, and she shares with us what steps aspiring models should take when finding an agency.
You don't have to spend too much money to get started. If anything, you want to, find a good mother agent. I would say starting with a mother agent before you look to like the bigger agencies that can kind of invest in you.
Yeah, tell us what a mother agent is. What is a mother agent?
Yeah, so a mother agent is basically someone that scouts, young up and coming models, invests in them, so helps them build up their book, their portfolio, to then send to larger agencies. So starting off, I actually never had a mother agent, so that kind of made my experience a little bit different. Still possible to do it without one, but I would always recommend for people coming up to start with a mother agency, like a smaller agency in general, so that you can really kind of get your feet wet. They invest in you, and then over time you can like build yourself up to go to those bigger agencies.
Now, I've talked about how much I love autobiographies, and I've been so blessed to have some of the authors stop by the show. One of my dream guests, Ramon Hervey II, who has a 40-plus year career in music business, shared with our listeners the right time to seek out representation.
And the best time is when you have value, because in our business, and particularly today with the music industry being the way it is, and the streaming services not paying artists, managers and publicists, they make their money off of success that they bring to a certain client. But that client also has to have something that they can market and promote. You can't just create something out of osmosis. So managers and publicists are looking for clients that are going to add something to their cachet value. They have stars, because we all judge, to me, our industry is based on charts, but it's charts for everyone. So managers are on a chart, agents are on a chart, lawyers are on a chart, artists are trying to get on the chart, and they want to stay in the top 10. And you only do that by surrounding yourself with other successful people. And that's people want to stay in that, that collaboration mode of, we need to have a star female. We need to have a star this, a star that. And you get judged as a manager by, that's the first thing they ask you. Well, who do you manage? And they judge you if you don't have any stars, then, oh, okay, thanks. Well, see you later. I think artists have to understand that they have to bring something to the table, because the record labels, they're not developing artists the way they used to. Like, you get one or two songs to become quote unquote famous, and then they're on to the next artist. And when I came up in the business, people like Stevie Wonder, these people had like 3 or 4 albums. Labels were still working on them to, that just doesn't happen. Albums really don't even happen. So we've really come down to where you have to have hit singles in order to even get any attention, and videos.
Yeah. Michelle Duffy taught me that if you can overthink the worst case scenario, you can overthink the best case scenario. And that has been a game changer for me in the pursuit of my dreams.
The foundation of my life is rooted in my best case scenario theory, in the what's the best that can happen, because that's what my mom poured into us. And so often people say, well, you are discounting reality if you are always thinking about best case scenario. No, it's not discounting reality. It is choosing to shift the narrative and the messaging of my life to focus on the things that I know will elevate my space. And so as trials of life come, I am able to shift and to transcend out of this heavy moment into something that is light and abundant. And what happens is, as my thoughts shift, my life starts to follow where my thoughts are.
The seed that was planted in episode 17 about me writing my dream show materialized by episode 27. Bernadette Stannis, that's right, Thelma from Good Times, encouraged my dream, which meant the world to me.
Because I understand that you are a fantastic writer and that you're writing a sitcom now, and I hope that it takes off for you. And from what you told me, it's going to be good. You are focused on women that age. So
Thank you.
God
Yes.
bless you and success to you.
Thank you. Well, y'all heard it here first. Staying fit goes hand in hand with being a creative. Fitness instructor and one of the coolest people I know, Tony Lewis, shared just why exercise is important in this industry.
Because exercise is physical and it is mental, because there's a discipline that comes with, showing up every day to exercise and work out for yourself. Also, I mean, working out, it really is good for your mental health, because what happens is when you work out, your endorphins are released. And that's what's called the feel-good drug. I always tell people, when people say, oh, I get high, I said, God already put something in us. But those endorphins are released when you move and when you exercise. And when people say, oh, I feel so good, you feel good because the endorphins have been released. And that's where they get the word morphine from, endorphins, because it's typically, like I said, it's our God installed drug. It's not a drug, but it makes you feel euphoric. And so I think it's important. I think it's key for performers and actors to have that outlet, because there's so many demands on them, and you've got to be mentally, in good shape. You got to be in a good mood. And you have to also be able to pivot, because maybe something doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go. Maybe they said you're going to be on set at 3 and you get there and they're like, well, now the call time's at 5. Okay, do I get an attitude, or do I, and so it really makes a difference in your mental state and your attitude.
I learned amazing things by doing this podcast, like the time Broadway composer, musical director, and pianist Joseph Joubert shared how my grandfather inspired him as a musician, and like the time when I found out that Joseph Joubert had a famous cousin.
At the time, they needed a gospel pianist to play this show, because it's a James Baldwin show. James Baldwin is a cousin of ours. And we, so when they, I came and played for him, he was like, oh, great. So literally hired me on the spot to be the pianist for the show and assistant musical director at the time.
TV writer Ray Benjamin gave us a tip that can help us when we feel intimidated while working in this industry. And what a wonderful reminder it was.
No one really knows what they're doing. I think when
Seriously.
I first got my job on Bridgerton, and you have to know I'm like a huge Shonda Rhimes fan. Scandal was my favorite show, and so I was very happy but also highly intimidated working on Bridgerton. It was the first season, so none of us knew that I was going to become like some popular phenomenon, really. But even not knowing that, just knowing about Scandal, Grace, How to Get Away with Murder, all that, it was an intimidating space to be in. And so I was just so nervous and frightened and scared. Like, I did not go to film school. I felt like, why am I here? And then when I got there, I realized that the writers were all working together to figure out story. Even people that you think are like highly accomplished, they have setbacks. They don't know what they're doing. I find that filmmaking, making a movie, it's just very collaborative, and not one person knows all the answers, and that's okay. So once I saw that, I'm like, oh, no one is really like a genius at everything. Everyone needs help. No one is an expert at all things. It really calmed me down, and it's something everyone should know.
If you enjoyed this episode and what we're doing here on Phae's Place, be sure to give us a great rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The celebration is not over yet. Tune in next Monday for part 2. I love you all for listening. Hi friends, it's Phaedra, and you are listening to Phae's Place. Join us each week as we talk to industry insiders about their journey and what it takes to turn dreams into a reality. Whether you aspire to be in the entertainment field or just inspired by the hustle, count this as your backstage pass. Join us every Monday for a brand new episode. And also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Phae's Place.